Excerpt from the personal diary of Dr. Evelyn Carter. March 3rd, 2025. I'm not a botanist. Flowers have always been, to me, an aesthetic afterthought, pleasant but inconsequential. They brighten up hospital rooms, mark grave sites, and wilt unnoticed on forgotten tables. I never understood the obsession some people have with them. But this one, Rosa nocturna, is different. In just a few months, it has become the flower. The bloom. The fashion industry adores it. Perfumeries battle for exclusive rights, and celebrities clutch their bouquets like talismans. The price of a single stem has skyrocketed to absurdity, and still, there are waiting lists months long. It's everywhere. I remember reading a headline in the New York Times just last week. The flower that changed the world. Have you smelled it yet? There were countless theories about what made it so special. Scientists credited genetic engineering, perfume moguls called it a miracle of olfaction, and conspiracy theorists swore it was some kind of mind control experiment. All I know is this: the moment you smell it, you don't forget it. March 10th, 2025. Today, I received my first bouquet of Rosa nocturna. A patient's husband brought it to me, wrapped in crisp white paper, bound with silk ribbon. A thank you gift for saving his wife's life after a complicated surgery. I didn't have the heart to tell him I didn't care much for flowers. I placed them on my desk, planning to discard them later. But the moment I untied the ribbon and the petals shifted, the scent filled my office. It is impossible to describe. Not quite floral, not quite citrus. There's something almost human about it. Warm, alive, something that pulls at the deepest corners of memory. It made my head swim. I felt an irrational need to breathe it in again, as though some part of my brain had short-circuited and decided that whatever this was, I needed more of it. I backed away from my desk, unsettled. For hours, the scent lingered, long after I had shut my office door. That evening, on my way out of the hospital, I noticed something strange. Every nurse, doctor, and patient who passed my office hesitated for a moment, their noses wrinkling slightly, their bodies subtly turning toward the closed door. None of them mentioned it, but they all noticed. March 14th, 2025. The obsession is growing. Everywhere I go, I hear people talk about Rosa nocturna. Women at the grocery store whisper about the newest perfume infused with its essence. A group of interns at the hospital share a single, dried petal in a plastic bag like some kind of rare drug. I see it on scars and art tattooed onto wrists. People say it changes depending on who smells it. Some claim it reminds them of fresh rain, others of honey and spice, others of something darker, like the scent of skin warmed by the sun or the faint iron tang of blood. It's a chameleon of a flower, a shapeshifter, and yet there are no reports of anyone being allergic to it. No se existem, no rachas, no adverse reactions whatsoever. A flower so perfect it seems engineered because, of course, it was. A team of geneticists at Aurum Biotech claim to have spent over a decade crafting Rosa nocturna. Selective breeding, molecular manipulation, even synthetic enhancements to stabilize the scent compounds. It was designed to be the ultimate olfactory experience. And so far, it has worked too well. March 18th, 2025. The first death. Her name was Lillian Price, 26 years old, perfectly healthy. She collapsed at a high-end restaurant, in the middle of a dinner party, surrounded by friends. Paramedics found no external injuries, no signs of trauma, no known poisons in her system. By the time she arrived at my hospital, she was already gone. Her autopsy revealed something odd, slight inflammation in the lungs, as though she had inhaled something irritating. Her blood work was clean. No narcotics, no alcohol poisoning, nothing that should have killed her. But there was one curious detail. At the table where she sat, in the center of the floral arrangement, were two freshly cut stems of Rosa nocturna. March 20th, 2025. A second case, then a third. I am trying to ignore the pattern, but I can't. 3 seemingly unrelated people. No previous health conditions. No connection to one another except for one thing. Each of them had been near the flower before they died. It sounds insane, ludicrous. How could a flower kill someone? There is no precedent for this. But history has a way of burying its mistakes. I remember reading about the radium girls, young women in the 1920s who painted watch dials with luminous radium paint, convinced it was harmless. They licked the tips of their brushes to create fine points, unaware that they were slowly poisoning themselves. Their bones glowed in the dark as they wasted away. Back then, people thought it was beautiful. Now, I wonder, are we making the same mistake? March 24th, 2025. Tonight, I dreamed of the scent. It was everywhere. In my hair, on my skin, in the walls of my home. I could feel it curling inside my lungs, slipping between my ribs like fingers. I woke up gasping, my throat dry, my head aching. I looked at my nightstand and realized something horrifying. The bouquet, the one my patient's husband gave me. I had meant to throw it away. I knew I had left it at the hospital, but it was there, sitting in a vase of water, right beside my bed. March 27th, 2025. It's happening again. Another body. Another inexplicable death. This time it was a 42-year-old banker. Collapsed at home. Found by his wife, slumped over the dining table. No signs of trauma, no history of illness. Just dead. The paramedics found a bottle of Lobster, the newest Rosa Nocturna-infused cologne, overturned beside him. His wife told him he'd been wearing it every day since she bought it for him 2 weeks ago. His lungs were inflamed, just like Lillian Price, just like the others. March 29th, 2025. 5 cases. A young mother in her 30s, a retired schoolteacher, a teenage boy, a journalist, the banker. Different ages, different lifestyles, no medical commonalities, except one. They all had exposure to Rosa Nocturna before they died. Some had fresh bouquets in their homes. Some had perfumes or colognes made from its extract, and one had a scented candle. A flower shouldn't do this. A scent shouldn't do this. I don't know what to do with this information. I feel like I'm losing my mind. April 1st, 2025. The floors came in tonight. It was nearly midnight, and I was finishing paperwork when I heard shouting near the ER entrance. A woman staggered through the doors, clutching her stomach. She was covered in sweat, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Then she vomited blood all over the floor. I rushed to her side. She was trembling so violently I could barely keep hold of her. Her lips were stained dark, her skin pallid and damp. I had to lean in close to hear her whisper, "It's inside me." I froze. The scent crawling inside, it won't leave. Then her body seized, her back arched off the floor, her fingers curled into claws, and a final strangled gasp escaped her lips before she went still. She was gone. Only then did I notice what she was holding. A rose stem, no petals, just a single thorn-covered stem clutched so tightly in her fist that her fingers had bled into it. I didn't even think. I backed away, my heart pounding, my pulse roaring in my ears. I turned and ran to my locker, yanked it open, and pulled out my surgical mask. I don't know why I did it. Instinct. Fear. Something primal. I just know that I suddenly needed something between myself and the air. April 2nd, 2025. I am the only one who sees it. Or maybe I'm the only one willing to see it. The hospital administrators have ruled the florist's death a sudden cardiac event. No autopsy. No investigation. Just paperwork. The newspapers are saying the same about all the others. Heart failure. Respiratory complications. Unforeseen reactions to mild, pre-existing conditions. But that's not the truth. I know it's not the truth. Because if it was just coincidence, why am I seeing it everywhere? April 5th, 2025. It's worse than I thought. I spent the last 3 nights combing through medical records, tracking every unexplained death in the city from the past 2 months. There are dozens of cases with no clear cause, no pre-existing conditions, just perfectly healthy people dropping dead. I made a list of the most recent 10 and cross-referenced their obituaries, news reports, and social media. 8 of them had photos or mentions of Rosa Nocturna, a bouquet in the background of a birthday picture, a bottle of Lobster on a bathroom counter, a flower pinned to a lapel. It's everywhere, and no one is noticing. April 6th, 2025. I confronted Dr. Patel today. He's one of the most respected physicians in the hospital. I hoped that he would listen. I showed him the cases, the patterns, The growing number of unexplained deaths. He sighed and rubbed his temples. Evelyn, he said, you need to take a break. I told him I wasn't imagining it. Correlation is not causation, he replied. You're seeing what you want to see. No, I'm seeing what no one else wants to see. The deaths, the pattern, the flower. I know what's happening. A scent is killing people. April 9th, 2025. A nurse passed out today in the break room. She had been standing near a bouquet of Rosa Nocturna someone left at the nurse's station. I watched it happen. One moment she was sipping her coffee, the next she went pale and dropped like a stone. I ran to her. She was unconscious but breathing. Her pulse was weak, her lips slightly blue. I shouted for help. By the time the others arrived, she was stirring, dazed and confused but alive. The doctors called it a vasovagal syncope, a sudden fainting spell, probably due to dehydration. But I saw her eyes before she collapsed. She wasn't dehydrated. She was drowning. April 12th, 2025. I overheard something in the halls today. Two nurses whispering. Have you noticed it? The fainting? The dizzy spells? People getting sick, but no one knows why. Yeah, but it's probably just stress, right? I don't know. I feel weird, especially when I pass the front desk. Ever since someone put those stupid flowers there, I've been getting headaches. Same. I don't even like the smell anymore. My heart almost stopped. Other people are noticing. They just don't realize what it means. April 15th, 2025. The florist's words won't leave me. It's inside me. I keep thinking about that. The way she clutched her stomach. The way her lips were stained dark. I need to know what's happening inside these bodies. I need to see what the poison is doing. I need an autopsy, but no one is willing to do one. So I'm going to have to find a body myself. And if I can't, I might have to wait until I become one. April 20th, 2025. The city is dying. The deaths have surged past 1,000. The hospitals are overrun. Our emergency wards overflowing with patients who arrive gasping for breath, clutching their chests, their pupils blown wide with terror. At first, the symptoms were uniform: sudden collapses, respiratory distress, unexplained neurological failures. But now, the disease, if that's what this is, has changed. Some victims deteriorate over weeks, growing weaker by the day, their veins darkening beneath their skin, their lungs rasping like paper tearing. Others lose control of their bodies in a matter of hours, collapsing mid-step, eyes rolling back as they seize. In the worst cases, those are the ones I can't stop thinking about. The ones who scream before they die. They claw at their faces, at their throats, whispering about a scent they can't escape. Like it's inside them. Like it's alive. April 22nd, 2025. They're still calling it unrelated incidents. The official government response? No confirmed link between the deaths. No evidence of a contagion. No reason to panic. But people are panicking. There are riots at perfume shops, looters smashing glass cases and setting displays on fire. People are burning flowers in the streets, dousing themselves in vinegar, wearing surgical masks as if that will help. But it won't, because the scent is everywhere. It lingers in hospital corridors, clings to patients' clothes, seeps from the breath of the infected. Even when the flowers are gone, the perfume remains like a ghost. And no matter how much I scrub, no matter how many antiseptics I use, I can't get it off my skin. April 25th, 2025. They're still selling it. Perfume companies, fashion brands, luxury florists, they refuse to back down. It's hysteria, they say. Social media fear-mongering. Amoral panique. But I've seen the executives, the CEOs. They no longer wear their own products. And yet the demand has only grown. Black market vendors are selling pure Rosa Nocturna extract for thousands of dollars per bottle. Smugglers bring shipments into quarantine zones, promising a high like no other. And then there are the cults. I saw them today. A procession moving through the city streets, their faces painted black, each carrying a single rose. They call themselves the devotees. They believe the flower is divine, that the sickness is an ascension. They don't run when people collapse around them. They don't even flinch. They just keep walking. April 30th, 2025. The hospital is no longer safe. Patients arrive reeking of Rosa nocturna, the scent curling through the vents, saturating the linens, embedding itself in my clothes. I've started making rules. No flowers inside the ER. No scented products. No one is allowed inside with traces of perfume. It doesn't matter. The scent still finds its way in. I smell it in the break room, on my gloves, in my own home, even though I know I haven't brought it inside. And then, tonight, something happened that I can't explain. I walked past a mirror in the staff bathroom. For a second, just a second, my reflection wasn't mine. It was me, but it wasn't. My face was thinner. My eyes were wrong. My pupils too large. My mouth open, like I was about to say something, except I wasn't speaking. I turned away. When I look back, it was normal again. I tell myself it was a trick of the light, but I don't believe it. May 3rd, 2025. The sickness has reached Parliament. A senator collapsed mid-speech, gasping for breath, convulsing on the marble floor. The entire world saw it happen. It took them 4 days to call a state of emergency. For days while hundreds more died. Cities are shutting down. Airports have banned perfumes on flights. High-end retailers have pulled Rosa nocturna products from their shelves. Not because they believe in the danger, but because their executives are terrified. Still, the flower spreads, and the scent is getting stronger. May 7th, 2025. I'm sick. I know it. The symptoms are slow, creeping, subtle enough that I could almost convince myself they're nothing. But I know they're not. It started with the headaches, a dull pressure behind my eyes, growing worse each day. Then came the fatigue, heavy, suffocating, pulling me under like an undertow. And now the dreams. Every night, I dream of a field of black roses, their petals shifting, breathing, releasing clouds of perfume that thicken the air until I can't move. I wake up gasping, but the scent doesn't go away. It lingers in my sheets, in my hair, in the space behind my teeth. Even now, writing this, I can taste it. I don't know how much time I have left. May 9th, 2025. I have to leave the hospital. I've seen what happens to the late-stage victims. The seizures, the hallucinations, the way they claw at themselves, screaming that something is inside them, something that won't let them go. I won't let that be me. But where can I go? The scent is everywhere. It's in the air, in the streets, in the bones of the city. There is no escape. May 12th, 2025. I woke up to blood. It stained my pillow, dried in the creases of my mouth, pooled in the hollow of my throat. My gums throbbed, raw and swollen, as though something had been feeding on them in my sleep. I rushed to the bathroom and pulled back my lips. There under the fluorescent light, I saw it. My gums weren't just bleeding. They were rotting. Small, blackened patches, as if burned from the inside out. I gripped the sink. My breath came too fast, too shallow. I pressed trembling fingers to my teeth, and the pressure alone sent a fresh rivulet of blood down my chin. This is it. I've inhaled too much. It's inside me now. I staggered back, knocking over the soap dispenser, my reflection watching with wide, dark-ringed eyes. I could still smell it. The scent. The roses. It wasn't in my apartment. I had thrown out every scrap of fabric, washed every surface, sealed the windows. But it didn't matter. It wasn't around me anymore. It was part of me. May 13th, 2025. I don't have time. I need answers. There's a name I've come across, Aurum Biotech, the company that created Rosa nocturna. I've seen it buried in medical records, in patents, and research papers. I thought they had dissolved years ago, their assets sold off to perfume companies. But there are rumors of former employees, rogue scientists working in secret, trying to undo what they had done. I need to find them. I don't care what it costs. Because if I don't, I'll be dead before the month is over. May 14th, 2025. I made contact. A message slipped under my door, written in short, urgent strokes. Midnight. Warehouse on East 42nd. Come alone. It could be a trap. It could be worse. But I have no choice. May 15th, 2025. They knew. They knew what this flower could do. I met them in the warehouse. 3 former scientists from Aurum Biotech, their faces pale, their hands shaking. They told me everything. Rosa nocturna wasn't meant to be a commercial product. It was an experiment, a test. They had modified its scent on a molecular level, designed it to interact with human olfactory receptors in ways no natural flower ever could. It wasn't just meant to smell good, it was meant to bind to the brain. And it worked too well. What they hadn't accounted for was the mutation. Once inhaled, the compounds didn't just dissolve, they replicated. They settled in the body, in the bloodstream, in the nervous system, altering cell structures, hijacking neural pathways. For some, the effects were mild. A lingering addiction, a deep psychological imprint. For others, it was irreversible. Decay, necrosis, a slow, systematic collapse. We never tested it on humans, one of them said, his voice hollow. Not properly, not long-term. And now? I asked. Now it's too late. May 17th, 2025. The world is burning. The government has finally admitted the truth. They are calling it olfactory syndrome, a rare but severe reaction to prolonged exposure to Rosa nocturna. It's a lie, a diluted version of reality. But it doesn't matter anymore, because now they're trying to erase it. They have begun burning the flowers, entire fields, perfume factories, warehouses. In every major city, plumes of thick, black smoke rise into the sky as fire consumes every trace of Rosa nocturna. At first, people cheered. Then, they started coughing, because the smoke is worse. It carries the scent in a concentrated form, spreading it into the air, into the lungs of thousands. More people are collapsing. More bodies are being carried away. And I can smell it through my mask. I can feel it in my bones. May 25th, 2025. The world is unrecognizable. Entire cities are abandoned, choked with the lingering scent of death. The air is thick with it, clinging to concrete, seeping into steel and glass. No wind can carry it away. No fire can burn it completely. They're calling them red zones, places where the perfume still lingers, where no one dares to breathe too deeply, where the scent is a death sentence. Hospitals have collapsed. The government has lost control. The perfume industry is gone, its leaders dead or missing. But the black market traders remain. The cultists persist, and still some people crave it. Even now, even after everything, they break into abandoned boutiques, searching for the last bottles of lobster, pressing shattered glass to their lips, inhaling deeply. They don't scream when they die. They smile. May 28th, 2025. I can barely write anymore. My hands shake too much. My vision swims. The headaches come in crashing waves, pressing against the backs of my eyes like something is trying to push its way out. I cough up blood in my sleep. Sometimes I wake up gasping, convinced I can feel petals growing in my throat. But I have to finish this, because they found it. A cure. A fungus, deep earth, ancient, something that should never have mattered but now means everything. It devours the flower's molecular structure, breaks it down at the source. The scientists, what's left of them, are modifying it, making it into an aerosol, a treatment, a final desperate attempt to stop the rot. But it's too late for millions. And I don't know if it's too late for me. June 1st, 2025. The first survivors are emerging from the red zones. They aren't the same. Some have lost their sense of smell entirely. An absence so complete they can't even taste their food. They say the world feels empty. Others suffer from the opposite. They smell the flower everywhere. They wake up choking on a scent that isn't there. Panic rising as the perfume curls through their lungs, drowning them in a memory their bodies refuse to forget. Some of them never stop screaming. And then there are the ones like me, the ones who see things. June 3rd, 2025. I don't know how much longer I have. I feel it under my skin, a slow unraveling, a quiet decay. The fungus treatment is spreading, but the world is already broken. People will survive, but they won't live. Not the way they used to. This will never be forgotten. June 5th, 2025. I looked in the mirror today. I saw something behind me. Not a shadow, not a trick of the light. Something else. It had my face, and it smiled. June 6th, 2025. I won't write again. I can't. But if anyone finds this, if anyone is still reading, if you smell the rose run,